In the dawn of time, when the heavens loomed vast and untouchable, the gods reigned supreme over the world. Their rule was absolute, their decrees law, and beneath their gaze, mortals cowered in fear. Among the immortals stood Prometheus, a titan with a spark of rebellion burning in his heart. Unlike his kind, who had once waged a feudal war against the Olympians, Prometheus chose a different path, not of defiance for power, but of defiance for justice. The earth was a bleak canvas then, cold and unyielding. Rivers slithered like frozen veins, and shadows clung to the land. Zeus, king of the gods, had tasked Prometheus and his brother Epimetheus with shaping life to fill this desolate world. Epimetheus eagerly crafted animals, granting them fur, claws, wings, and speed, leaving nothing for the last creation, the humans. When Prometheus turned to his unfinished work, he saw frail creatures trembling in the cold, their fragile forms exposed to a hostile world. They had no claws to defend themselves, no speed to flee, and no wings to escape. They were vulnerable, destined for extinction in a land of predators. Something stirred within Prometheus, a deep, unshakable need to protect these fragile beings, to give them the tools to rise above their meager fate. So he climbed Olympus, where thunderclouds rolled and divine light crackled in the air. Standing before Zeus's golden throne, Prometheus made his plea. "Great Zeus," he said, his voice steady despite the weight of the gods, "gaze, grant fire to the humans. Let them warm their hands, light their paths, and protect themselves from the beasts of the night." But Zeus, with a thunderous laugh that shook the very mountain, refused. "Fire is the domain of gods," he declared. "To give it to mortals would make them dangerous. Let them remain weak, for their humility serves us." By night, Prometheus returned to Olympus, cloaked in shadow and silence. The path was treacherous, winding through clouds and steep cliffs that no mortal or god dared tread uninvited. The air on the mountain was sharp, electric with the power of the Olympians, and the heavens above roared with distant storms. But Prometheus was undeterred. He reached the grand hall of Hephaestus, where the eternal forge blazed with an otherworldly light. The walls shimmered with gold and bronze, and the sound of hammers striking metal echoed like thunder. Hephaestus, weary from his divine labors, had retired for the night, leaving the forge untended, a rare moment of vulnerability. Prometheus stepped cautiously into the hall, the shadows dancing around him as if alive. He approached the forge, where flames licked at the air, their colors shifting from gold to blue to white-hot intensity. These flames were no ordinary fire. They held the essence of creation itself, capable of shaping both weapon and life. Prometheus's heart pounded as he reached out, his hand trembling not from fear but from the gravity of his act. With the precision of one who knew there could be no second chance, he took a hollow reed and plunged it into the fire. The ember within the reed flared to life, a tiny but powerful spark that pulsed with an unnatural warmth. As Prometheus withdrew, the flames surged briefly, as if they sensed the theft, and a gust of heat rushed past him. He froze, waiting to see if any of the gods had noticed. But the forge remained silent, and the halls of Olympus were still. Prometheus fled, the ember concealed within the reed. The journey down Olympus was harrowing. The wind howled, threatening to extinguish the fragile flame, but Prometheus shielded it with his hands, his body, his very essence. He felt the weight of his actions with each step. He was no longer just a titan, he was now a thief, a rebel against divine order. When he finally reached the mortal world, he found the humans huddled in the cold, their breath visible in the frosty air. Prometheus approached them, his presence commanding yet gentle. He knelt and placed the reed on a pile of dry wood. With a deliberate breath, he coaxed the ember into a flame. For the first time, the darkness of night was pierced by golden light. The humans gasped, their eyes wide with awe as the fire crackled and roared, casting long shadows that danced across their faces. Prometheus showed them how to nurture it, to feed it wood, to use it to cook food, warm their shelters, and forge tools. He demonstrated its power to protect them from the creatures that prowled the darkness. As the firelight reflected in their eyes, Prometheus saw something profound, a spark of understanding, of ambition, of hope. They were no longer helpless. They had been given a chance to thrive, to challenge the harshness of the world, and to rise above their fragility. But the smoke of mortal fires reached Olympus, and Zeus's fury was swift and terrible. Summoning Prometheus to his throne, he spoke with a voice like an avalanche. "You have betrayed the gods, Titan. You have given mortals the power to defy us, to challenge their fate. For this, you will suffer. Zeus ordered Prometheus to be bound to a craggy peak in the Caucasus Mountains, a place where icy winds howled and the sun's heat burned without mercy. Chains forged by Hephaestus himself held Prometheus fast, and every day an eagle, the symbol of Zeus, descended to feast upon his liver. Each night, the liver would regenerate, and the torment would begin anew. But Prometheus bore his punishment with a defiance that Zeus could not extinguish. Each day as the eagle tore into him, he thought of the humans and how they now thrived. They had discovered agriculture, built shelters, and forged weapons to defend themselves. They were no longer prey but creators, shaping the world in their image. Prometheus knew he had done the right thing. He had not only given them fire but also taught them resilience and hope. Yet, his suffering was unending, and the gods refused to relent. As centuries passed, Prometheus's torment became a cautionary tale whispered among gods and mortals alike. Yet, Zeus was haunted by a prophecy, one that Prometheus had spoken in defiance before being chained. Your reign, mighty Zeus, is not eternal. One day, a child of yours will rise against you, and you will fall as the Titans did. This prophecy gnawed at Zeus's pride, for Prometheus alone knew the identity of the child who would bring about his downfall. Despite his wrath, Zeus longed to know the truth. Centuries passed, and Prometheus remained bound to the peak of the Caucasus Mountains, his punishment unrelenting. Each day, the eagle descended, its screech piercing the icy air as it tore into his flesh. The pain was excruciating, but Prometheus endured, his defiance unbroken. He found solace in the knowledge that his suffering had given humanity the means to rise, that the fire he had stolen burned brightly in their hearts and homes. One day, the clatter of footsteps reached his ears. It was not the sound of gods but of a mortal, a man whose stride was strong, whose presence radiated purpose. Heracles, the greatest of mortals and a son of Zeus, stood before him. His eyes, filled with determination, took in the sight of the bound Titan and the eagle circling overhead. You are Prometheus, Heracles said, his voice steady. I have heard of your suffering, of your sacrifice for humanity. No one deserves such torment, least of all one who gave so much. Prometheus, his voice hoarse but still firm, replied, if you seek to free me, know that it will bring Zeus's wrath upon you. My chains were forged by the gods themselves, and the eagle is but an extension of their will. Heracles smirked, his confidence unshaken. I have faced the wrath of gods before. If freeing you is a crime, then so be it. The world owes you a debt, Titan, and I intend to repay it. With that, Heracles drew his bow, its string taut with divine strength. He waited until the eagle descended, its talons outstretched to claim its daily feast. In a single motion, he loosed the arrow, which flew true and struck the eagle through its heart. The creature let out a final screech before plummeting lifelessly to the rocks below. Heracles approached Prometheus, examining the unbreakable chains. They were thick and engraved with runes of divine power, designed to resist any mortal attempt to sever them. But Heracles was no ordinary mortal. With his immense strength, he gripped the chains and pulled with all his might. The rocks groaned, the mountain shook, and at last, the chains snapped. Prometheus collapsed to the ground, his body weak from centuries of torment but his spirit unyielding. He looked up at Heracles, gratitude flickering in his weary eyes. You have done what no god dared to do, he said. You have risked everything to free me. For that, I owe you a debt I can never repay. Heracles, ever pragmatic, helped the Titan to his feet. There is one thing I ask in return, he said. Zeus demands that you reveal the truth of the prophecy you spoke. Who is the child destined to overthrow him? Prometheus hesitated, the weight of the question pressing down on him. But he knew he could no longer remain silent. The child Zeus fears is not born of mortals, he revealed. It is a child of the sea goddess Thetis. If Zeus takes her as his consort, their union will bear a son mightier than the father. That is the child who will bring his reign to an end. Heracles nodded, understanding the gravity of the revelation. He carried this knowledge back to Zeus, who, though angered by Prometheus's release, heeded the warning. Zeus abandoned his pursuit of Thetis, allowing her to marry a mortal, thus averting the prophecy. Prometheus, though free, bore the scars of his ordeal. He wandered the earth, a living reminder of sacrifice and defiance. The fire he had stolen continued to burn in the hearts of humanity, a legacy that would endure for all time. Though Prometheus was freed, his scars remained, a testament to his sacrifice. He wandered the earth, watching as humans grew in strength and knowledge. The fire he had stolen became the foundation of civilizations, the spark that ignited art, science, and philosophy. Prometheus became a symbol of rebellion against tyranny, a reminder that even the gods could be defied in the name of justice. He walked among mortals in disguise, sharing wisdom and inspiring them to question, to create, and to rise above their limitations. His act of defiance, though born of compassion, reshaped the world. The fire he had given was more than a gift, it was a seed of possibility, one that burned brightly in the hearts of humanity for all time. And so, the tale of Prometheus endures, whispered in the glow of campfires and echoed in the forge's ringing hammer. He remains a reminder that sometimes, defiance is the greatest act of love, and that the spark of hope, once kindled, can never truly be extinguished.